So the game I'm picking today is called City of Heroes. This is an MMORPG that came out in 2009. Um, so I wanted to use this story, and I feel like this might be kind of cheating, perhaps. And I know I've criticized people for not picking something that entirely meets the criteria. So for that, I apologize. You can call me out if you'd like. It's a comic book styled MMORPG. Um, it's not based off one specific comic, but it is based off of comics in general. So I thought I'll use this one. City of Heroes came out. Actually, the game was launched in North America in 2004 and in Europe in 2005. Players created super powered player characters that could team up with others to complete missions and fight criminals belonging to various gangs and organizations in the fictional Paragon City. I find this game fascinating because it came out in that era where WoW is picking up a lot of steam. And so you had other games that are trying to fill that niche as well. And this was one of them, and it's actually one of the better ones. People that might remember this game could remember that you could create your own superhero, and down the road you could actually also create a super villain, and they could all intermingle. There's a lot of customization you can do as far as body type, colors, the different styles, the different kinds of superhero you wanted to be. You could be like a psychic using superhero, a super strong one that used magic. They had little nods to all the ones that you would think of, like all the Supermans, and you can even make something akin to Poison Ivy. Just like a lot of little nods to comic books. And then, of course, the stories and the places you would explore were cities and towns, and there would be thugs on the street that you had to beat up and save people from. And the quests were kind of like WoW, but obviously more stylized off of superheroes. I didn't love this game, but a friend of mine really did. So I did play a large portion of it. And I think what's really interesting about this one is obviously this game shut down many years ago. On August 31st, 2012, NCSoft terminated Paragon Studios, which is the group that made this, ending all production of City of Heroes with the last day of services on November 30th, 2012. But it gets more interesting. In April 2019, source code capable of running a City of Heroes server was distributed widely. This made it possible to create City of Heroes servers outside the direct purview of NCSoft and revived interest in the game, which by then had been out of development for more than 6 years. They then squashed that. But on January 4th, 2024, this year, NCSoft granted Homecoming Servers, LLC, who operated the rogue server of Homecoming City of Heroes, an official license to host the game. And this game is currently live and playable for free right now. Which is kind of bizarre to play a game that's that old. Now it just has like very different sensibilities of what an MMORPG is supposed to be. Graphically, it looks not horrible, but certainly dated. You can definitely tell this is an older game. And I did play it a little bit. I started my character, got through the tutorial, got through some of the quests. Found some of the ideas that it had really interesting. It has quests that evolve as you're questing. So like your quest is to go save some people. You beat up the people that are stopping them and find clues while on that quest that there's a hidden hideout nearby. And then through that, you go to the hideout and you can contact the quest giver through a phone, because it's not like medieval or anything. So you can just contact people on phones and say like, oh, I found their hideout. And then you can push further and further. Really interesting in that way that you don't even see a lot today. So I was really impressed by that. But the community's there. I ran into a couple humans while I was questing, and I was only in the starter zone, so that was kind of cool. And even saw in the chat people were looking for groups to complete dungeons. So I wanted to just emphasize this game as a very, very rare instance where the publisher was not a complete dick and actually let people have fun with a game that doesn't hurt anybody. It doesn't really happen very often, so it's nice to celebrate it when it's here. I applaud NCSoft for not squashing this like other companies like Nintendo probably would, and letting them do it. I'm sure there's some kind of financial incentive. The game still runs off of donations, so I think they still request donations from you. I didn't pay anything, but you could donate to them if you wanted to get into it. But otherwise, it's free to play, and you can just go have fun with it. There's no incentive to do anything else. So, a rare win for video gamers, and so hopefully they can do that with other games in the future. City of Heroes. If you're into MMOs and superheroes, check it out.
Cool. What kind of hero did you run?
A fighter. Made a really big dude. And
was he green?
He was very, very green. And
Not blue.
Not the Incredible Blue Hulk. And I just ran through and tried to like punch people to death as much as possible, and I certainly did. And I remember playing this back in the day. I played as more of like a psychic user, because my tastes in these kinds of games have changed a little bit, where I used to be more of the spellcaster, and now I like to play a physical damage dealer. But I mean, all those are possible. I admired too with it. I forgot about this, that every character has some sort of mobility to them as well. Because like superheroes can always do stuff, like do crazy mobile stuff, and some of them can jump, some of them can run really fast, some of them can fly. Mine can just run really fast. It's his deal.
I kind of missed it, but are your objectives with the online components to work together with people or fight against them?
It's like any other MMORPG. I didn't get into any PvP, but I'm sure there is some. But it if you're playing World of Warcraft, you can do things by yourself to quest through things. I suspect it gets very difficult to do that later, just based off of what I played. But you can do it by yourself, and then there's obviously dungeons where you have to get groups to do it.
Nice. Yeah, I remember seeing like commercials for this back in the day. I was never an MMO guy, but I remember City of Heroes was like a name that I would hear a lot through like TV ads and stuff. So that's the only connection I have to it. But it's cool to like actually get to hear about it.
Yeah, I was trying to think of what to play for this one, because I like several comic book games, and there were a couple in the running. And then I remembered this game, and I was like, "Oh, that'd be interesting to talk about," even though I can't play it. Lo and behold, you can play it, and it was kind of a mindfuck to go back and go through it after so many years. And I was just so happy that something like this is even possible. It's like, I really, really hope that they take some of those games that run off servers, and that they've shut the servers down, and they can just bring them back, and then passionate people can just play it for free.
Well, anything with a big fan base will, get that. Surely. There's a lot of games like that, I think. I think even like Final Fantasy 11 you can still play.
I've heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah. That game's dead,
You know anything about the City of Villains thing? It's like a spinoff or
Yeah, so they run parallels. They ran off the same subscription. This was a subscription model when it originally came out, and it was almost like an expansion. So it was run off the same subscription model. So you just had to buy the base game, and then you were good. The areas that you start in are different, and obviously the tone of the character you make is different. But I think the core gameplay is pretty similar. Kind of reminds me of the Old Republic. Not Knights of the Old Republic, but the Old Republic, which was the MMORPG they made, which I actually really got into, where you could play as an evil character or as a good character. Well, it almost had like a weird dichotomy with that one, was because you could play on the light side, as an evil or good guy, or you could play on the dark side as an evil or good guy. You can do the math on how much sense that makes, but like that
that doesn't make any sense.
took that up a notch, and made it even better. But it kind of reminded me of that, where it's like if you're a villain, you're gonna have quests that are evil, I guess, and if you're a good guy, you have like save the people on the streets from the thugs.
What if I want to be like an anti-hero? Like what if I want to be the Punisher?
You could certainly make the Punisher as a character. I don't know that you could, because in this game the quests don't appear to have as much like freedom to decide throughout the quest.
It sounds kind of like it sounds kind of Fable-y, where it's like you're either good or bad, right?
Fable is the ultimate game of making choices, and
no, I'm saying that's what it sounds like to me.
Yes,
like
the ultimate game.
Like, no, I didn't mean ultimate. I meant bad. I meant like surface level.
Yeah,
I mean, it
right.
sounds like Fable, where it sounds like Fable, where it's surface level, where the missions are like either good or bad.
Right.
I think Spencer was giving it its flowers. I think he likes Fable.
No, I was being facetious for sure. No,
but I was dissing Fable. I don't think Spencer understood that.
No, I was trying to be facetious. No, you're right. In this one, it's more cut and dry. Whereas I think in the Old Republic, they really gave you the choices to be evil, and then it affected certain stats that ended up not mattering. But yeah, in this one, it's very cut and dry. Which if you look at the time, that's kind of how it should be. They hadn't, comic book movies and stuff hadn't become dark yet. So nowadays it's like every hero has to be conflicted, but back then it wasn't quite there yet.
I don't know, or goofy. There's also like the goofy comic books too.
Did you say goofy?
Comic book movies were just it's me. Comic book movies were just in like a different state back then,
Yeah,
like the way that we, now it's like all homogenized. But back then it was like comic book movies were like kind of cool for a bit, It was like a lot of them bad, but it was like
they kind of
Spider-Man, like Tom McGuire's Spider-Man was cool, like a lot of the movies are cool.
Yeah, they each kind of had their own identity.
Yeah,
which was wild.
Yeah.
I remember watching the first Venom, and that movie really felt like a 90s comic book movie.
I've never watched those because I don't like the Sony stuff, but I'm kind of curious to watch the Venom movies now. There's like 3 of them.
I haven't even seen the newest one, but the first one, the second one was fine too, but the first one really felt like it was from the 90s. Like it just had its
All
own...
I know about the third movie is that there's a Venom horse. He like symbiotes a horse.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, okay, that's weird. Whatever.